today's objective. Triangle sum and exterior angles theorem. Let's go over some definitions. Okay? Acute triangle. Remember, an acute triangle where all of the interior angles are less than 90 degrees. Not one of those angles would be more than or 90 above. Okay? Obtuse. One of those three angles will be more than 90 degrees. So it'll be greater than 90. Now, if it's considered to be classified as a right triangle, that means that out of those three, one of them would be exactly 90 degrees. Which you should know, seeing that symbol, for them to tell you that it's 90, is that little box in there for that angle. Scalene triangle. All three of those sides have different lengths. Okay? Not one of those three lengths on there are going to be the same. Isosceles. Two sides have the same length. Okay? And those lengths would be, remember when we use that sign, they would have a little tick mark on that side length to let you know that they would be congruent. Equilateral triangle. All sides are equal. Okay? So all three sides would have a tick mark, and you'll see those later on in some examples that we're going to do. All right, remote interior angles. Okay, this is a different word. You probably haven't seen this one before. All right, so remote interior angles. Two non-adjacent interior angles of the exterior angle. All right, so don't worry about that. You know, we'll get through it when we look at the diagram on some practice examples. Okay. Vic number 1. The triangle sum theorem states this. All interior angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. You probably didn't know, when you always talk about in previous years, oh yeah, all three angles add up to 180. Well, that actually has a name. The triangle sum theorem. Okay? Vic number 2. The exterior angle theorem states the measure of an exterior angle is the sum of the two remote interior angles. So we're seeing that word again, remote interior angles. So it actually is applied to this particular theorem. Okay? All right, let's practice. I'm going to break this up for you. We're going to first practice with the triangle sum. All right? So this should be kind of, a piece of cake for you. So we're going to find some missing angles. So in this first diagram, as you notice, I'm notating the right degree angle, okay? And then you notice that this one I'm missing, and this one is 20. So out of these three angles, I know two. So I'm looking for that third one. So I know that 90 plus 20, so these two angles equal 110. And remember I told you what the little three dots that are in form of a triangle stand for? It means therefore. Okay? X plus 110 equals 180. So in other words, this angle plus those two angles I know are going to be 180 since we're dealing with a triangle. All right? So to solve for X, we're going to subtract 110 from both sides. Then that goes to 0. So X equals 70 degrees when I subtract that. So I know that this angle is 70 degrees. Okay? All right, example number 2. Now remember before in our verbiage that when we see this little tick mark, we know that those sides are the same. Okay? But right now we're focusing on the missing angle. All right? So here's X. This side is 50 degrees, and this side is 50 degrees. So let's look at that. Right, so all three. So I know that these two are 100 degrees when I add both of them. All right, so 50 plus 50 plus X equals 180 degrees. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add these two angles here. That's 100 plus X equals 180. Now again, we're going to solve for x. So I need to bring 100. I'm going to subtract it over. Remember 100, that goes to 0. So I can see that x, this angle here, is 80 degrees. And I can check myself. 100 plus the 80. Definitely did my math correct there. So look at these three. So I have x, that's my missing angle, 120. So we would classify this as this one is greater than 90, so I have an obtuse triangle. And this one is 40. So x plus 120 plus 40 equals 180 degrees. Because remember, all three angles add up to 180 degrees. So again, let's combine those two angles, combine our like terms. So 120 and 40 add up to 160. So when I take that from 180, I know that this missing angle is going to be 20 degrees. Okay? 20 degrees. Alright, so we're going to practice a little more as far as an application of the triangle sum theorem. Okay? Now, it says find the measure of angle A, angle B, and angle C. Okay? So here are my three. In other words, we're trying to find all three angles within this triangle. Alright, so I know this is 60 degrees, and I know that's 70 degrees. So I do know that by, let's go ahead and find angle A. Okay? So to find angle A, here's angle A. And if I think of extending this line out a little more, right? These two are parallel. And if I'm thinking of this line from what we previously learned about transversal, I can see the angle A and 70 degree angle. There's a relationship there. All right? So they are inside the parallel. So know that they are interior. Okay? Interior. And then they are opposite sides of the transversal. So that means being on opposite sides, that means they're alternate interior angles. And what do we know about alternate interior angles? They are congruent. They have the same measure. Alright? So if they have the same measure, that means that angle A is 70 degrees. Okay? Alright, let me just draw a line here. Alright, angle B. So here's angle B. And I can kind of think of this where I have 70 here and 60 here. Notice I have this line. And what do we know about straight angles? They add up to 180 degrees. Alright? So they do. So all three, 60, angle B, and 70, would all add up to 180 degrees. So we're going to put that into practice. Okay? So 70 plus 60 plus angle B equals 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and add those two angles together. So we're going to combine our like terms. So 30 plus angle B is 180. Just go ahead and take that away. So angle B is the 50 degrees. Okay? So that is 50 degrees. So now I know that angle A is 70, angle B is 50. So now, trying to find, using the triangle, since I have this triangle right here, okay, notice we're trying to find angle C, this one right here, that's what we're trying to find. So knowing, okay, the triangle sum theorem, that this is 70, that is 50, and we're trying to find this one. So I know that all three of those angles are going to be 180 degrees. So 70 plus 50 plus angle C. Okay, all three angles add up to 180. So let's go ahead and add those other two angles together. Okay, 120. Take that from 180, and then that gives me 60 degrees. So angle C is 60. Okay? Alright, so we talked a little bit about the triangle sum theorem. So now we're going to go back to the exterior angle theorem. So remember, this had a couple of words in there, talking about non-adjacent, talking about, remote interior. So now we're going to kind of get a picture of what that is. All right. So here's a typical diagram. Okay, you see this little triangle here, and this line that's on the base of the triangle is extended out. So this, as I wrote here, this is your adjacent. Angle 3 is adjacent to angle 4. So this is not part of the theorem. What it's talking about when you go to the remote is 2 non-adjacent. So here's my exterior angle from the triangle. So X here, and it says 2 non-adjacent angles. Okay? So what it says is that angle 4 is exterior, and angle 1 and 2 are the remote interior angles to angle 4. So here is my exterior angle from that triangle, and here is my 2 remote non-adjacent angles. Okay, remote interior, in other words, they're inside that triangle. And so here, therefore, by seeing this relationship, measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2 equal to the measure of angle 4. So out of those 3 angles, if I know 2 of those measures, I can find the other one, because I know that these 2 add up to angle 4. All right? So let's practice that. Okay? Now, finding the missing value. So here is our exterior angle. Here are my 2 remote. So what did we just learn? Okay? These are my 2 remote interiors, so I know that both of them add up to this right here. So knowing that, okay, I know that my exterior angle is equal to the sum of those 2 interior angles. All right, and then that would equal 105 degrees. Okay, so that would be that angle out there. Okay, all right, let's look at our second example. So you notice here I have angle X and angle Y here. This angle is 30 degrees, and this one is 80 degrees. So we've got 2 things that were, 2 angles that we're missing. All right. So let's solve for angle X first. Okay. So I know that by this this exterior angle, that the sum of those 2 equals 80 degrees. So I have X plus 30 equals 80. Here's my 2 remote, and here is my exterior angle. Okay? So let's solve for that other angle. And that is, so this one is 50 degrees. All right? So now, by solving for Y, I will be using the, get out please. I will be, sorry about that. I will be using the triangle sum theorem for that. Okay, and so I know the triangle sum theorem that all 3 of these angles add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to go and add those two angles. Okay, so I know that's 50 and 30, so that's a 80. Then I'm going to take 80 away. Sorry about that. And I know that 180 minus 80, I know that angle Y is 100 degrees. Okay?